believe it either. Yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. We're trying to be on time. Yes, 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 yes. Mm, right, right. Okay, let's get it. Mm-mm. Here I come to save the day. Mighty Mouse is on the way. Mighty Mouse, Mighty Mouse, Mighty Mouse is on the way. Yeah, what's up, Jay? Jay, first one on deck. I just saw you come in. Greetings, salutations. Oh, hold up, hold up. Oh, before this, I knew I was on time, but I still now we're connected across the lane. What's up? What's up? What's up, Robert? What's up? What's up? Okay, GCPR, we're going to wrap. All right, there we go. Everything's up and running. I am TNathan. It is October the 10th. It is after 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, 11 o'clock Eastern Time. And you know what that means. It's time for conversation with TNathan. And that would be I, that would be here, and you would be here there. Welcome, welcome. What's up? What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Thanks for joining me tonight. Um, I'm in my college boy look tonight. Yeah, college boy look. That's what I'm calling. That's what we're staying with. What's up, nephew? What's up, Robert? What's up over here? What's up, pretty girl J9 on X? Thank you for joining me on X. Thank you. Thank you. All of X, thank you for tuning in. I notice your numbers are getting larger over there, tuning in. I am doing good. How are you all doing? This is Thursday, October the 10th, 2024. Okay, Google, how many days left to November the 5th?
There are 26 days from October 10th until November 5th.
26 days to election day. Y'all heard Google. Y'all heard Google. 26 days to election day. What are y'all doing? Well, today, of course, Barack Obama hit the campaign trail on behalf of Vice President Harris, and we're going to take a listen to him on the campaign trail tonight. Um, he said some interesting things, but he said some interesting things prior to taking that stage at a campaign headquarters stop that he made a surprise visit at when he acknowledged the hard truth. Barack Obama carried 96% of the black vote during his election cycle, and Kamala Harris is presently polling at 78% of the black vote, and most of that is because of black women. And Barack Obama made an appeal to black men that are not supporting Kamala Harris, and basically sent a wake up call like, why? Jay, don't rub it in. Yes, I'm on time. I'm on time. But he made an appeal to the black men and told them we need to be out there campaigning on behalf of Kamala Harris. Some of us have been doing that, but I understood what he meant. But let's just be realistic and call it what it is: misogyny, misogynoir in this case. That we're watching black men that have no vested interest in anything that Donald Trump offers us collectively as a community that just refuse to vote for a black man. I mean, that's just the way I feel. I feel that um, black men and white men are going to be the stumbling block to this historical moment, and it's going to be because um, they don't really like women, and I don't mean in a sexual manner. I mean that they don't respect women. They don't. I mean, I'm still waiting for somebody to answer my question that doesn't support Kamala Harris as a person of color or as a black man specifically to tell me a black woman on the national stage that he thinks of as a strong woman. Um, I challenge him. They will pay lip service to the historical strong women of history. They will. I'm sure someone will mention Coretta Scott King, and I'm sure someone will mention Harriet Tubman. because that's what they condition. Those are safe choices. It's always safe to pick dead black women as your idea of strong black women because you know they're dead. But you ask them about Stacey Abrams or Angela Davis or some of the strong black women that are alive, and they still will find an excuse for why they can't run the country, and they will also, in the same breath, make make a justification why somebody with no political experience was able to assume the office of president in 2016. I am disgusted. I'm just going to say that I am disgusted with men that happen to look like me because of that misogyny and that misogynoir. It is disgusting, and that's why I made it make it a point to separate myself from those men. And that's not just for now; that is going forward, henceforth and forevermore. If they don't see the the reasoning that doesn't include voting for Trump or not supporting this moment, then they're showing us that they don't care about anything that we care about. Me and Nick made a game plan for voting since I have off work on Tuesdays. Good, good. What's up? I see the Dora Milaje are coming in. I see greetings, Penelope. Greetings. Yeah, like the, thank you. The X numbers are going up, and it's the same because I am suppressed on X extraordinarily. They're just videos I can't post on X, and we know why. We know why. When I can watch misinformation spread on X like wildfire, but to counter that misinformation, um, yeah, it takes way more. I can even post the counter to the information under the misinformation, and it still gets suppressed. But you know what? You don't walk away from a fight. And I know everybody's not built to do the things I do when it comes to fighting in the enemy's territory, but I refuse to abdicate it to them. I refuse. I refuse. That's when people don't understand it. Why do you do it? Because I refuse. Now, if you all want to sit home and be safe and do the safe thing, by all means, stay there. But yeah, stay out my way. That's what it's gotten down to now. It's like you have to actually tell people that are not doing anything except complaining about you doing something to sit down and shut up and stay out the way. Because at this point, I don't want to hear it. I'm just tired. Petra told me today I sounded frustrated. It's not so much I'm frustrated. I just want to strangle people. I think that's the point we've gotten to. We can't talk rationally. And I'm not talking about to racist bigots and Rocket Raccoon. I don't talk rationally to them anyway. I talk rationally to them, but I do cuss them out and use ad hominems every chance I get because that's what I think of them. But it's the people that are consider themselves in the fight that are not in the fight. And I'm just getting tired of telling them, yeah, you're not in the fight. You're just talking about being in the fight. You're not collectively doing anything except be lip service. Lip service. You don't do anything. You're just prepared to benefit from the actions of those who do. But very few people are actually in the fight. And you have a chance to actually help those who are in the fight in the upcoming election. But I'm looking at stats, and another thing I see, I said this election is going to tell me who this country is and how will I proceed in my attack of it. Because at the end of the day, I'm seeing because y'all know I follow more than just the presidential election, and I'm looking at the Senate race, and I'm seeing how tight the margin is in the Senate right now. And I'm looking at some Senate races in Wyoming, Arizona, and Florida, and one Senate races that we need Texas, Ted Cruz, and people are like, "Oh, Ted Cruz is in danger." I'm looking at the percentage points in these polls 26 days out, and all of those Senate races I just mentioned, the Republican candidate is leading by single digits, but comfortable singing single digits outside the margin of error. So I can see the Republicans gaining control of the Senate and the House. I can see that. And if they gain control of the presidency, the Senate, and the House, I, we won't have anyone to blame but themselves. And I know that comes working hard and everything. I get it, but yeah, I'm going to. I believe I need to have the names and addresses of everyone that puts this into motion. I do. I think we need to talk to them, pay them visits, all of that. 'Cause- or it's not even for those reasons. Is that when this sounds gonna sound bad, but I am not in the business of fighting for people who are actively fighting against. I think I have to remove myself from that equation. I'm not that. I don't think the ancestors created me to be this unconditional person that fights for the liberation of people that are not that are fighting to maintain the status quo of oppression. I don't. I'm not. I'm not. And I have to start. And I think November the 5th is going to make me start. I'm standing on that even more. I can't. I can't. I can't justify fighting for somebody that is fighting to literally maintain the status quo or harm those who we care about and love. I can't. So when the leopard attacks them, and what's the song? It says I couldn't believe the leopard ate my face. Is that it? Am I getting that right? I just can't see it. I'm not. The leopard wants to eat your face, and you have been supporting the leopard all along. And in spite of everything that has been said, I'm just going to say, hey, you wasn't a soldier of mine anyway, so it wasn't like you were contributing anything to our cause. And I know, sounds bad. It sounds bad. I get it, but it's a reality. We have consistently worked against our best interests by saving people that then run right to the other side and add to their numbers and attacking. So that's what I tell you. That's what this election is going to show me. It's going to show me and clearly define, are we fighting for the right reasons, and should our should our service be conditioned? Conditioned on the fact that you cannot get into bed with racist bigots and Rocky Raccoons in service to our oppression. And then when those very people turn on you, the people you want to call on and join with are the rebellion. I don't know. I will seriously have to do some um, searching on that. I don't think I can. Not, I don't have the desire or the energy to. So that's where we are on that. Hurricane Milton has come and gone and left a path of destruction. Luckily, not many people heeded the evacuation warning, but the idea that it spawned 146 tornadoes, 146 tornadoes that they said did not act and behave like regular tornadoes did, all outside of evacuation zones, right? So anybody who has family and friends in that area, my heart goes out to you, and I hope you find them well, and you don't have to contend with that. Greetings, gather your roses. Greetings, greetings. Yeah, what's up, Rain? Evening, all. I'm not late. I was watching the Northern Lights. Oh, Rain. You take Pirate's place when he's not here. You just don't realize. Pirate does it intentionally. You don't. Yeah. Rain gonna get in trouble. One day the door on Elijah gonna turn on. Beat Rain up. Rain better be careful. Yeah, yeah. Dora Milaje get on your ass, Ray. Can't help you. Just thought I'd let you know, right? You better alert. You listen. You will have to find out the hard way. That's what Pirate had to do. I had to save Pirate a lot of times, but, right? The the Dora Milaje were not playing. You see, oh, so that's where we stand. So I will do some. We will do some searching and see what we come up with. But if you all are in the hurricane zone or in Florida, I was looking. I was looking at some pictures. I had some pictures from a friend of mine in Florida, and it was like it looks like a swamp. It was showing me this area, and I was like, "Damn, you live in a swamp now?" And this was, and it was not a swamp. It was a perfectly dry area beforehand, but now it looks like a swamp. I'm good at finding out the hard way. Okay. I'm just saying. Yeah. Uh, great. Famous last words. Famous last words. All right. So what else did I want to touch on before we get to President Obama in Pennsylvania? I want to touch on. So Donald Trump was in Detroit, standing before a podium that literally said Detroit Economic Group, right? And he said if Kamala Harris gets elected, the rest of the country is going to be just like Detroit. The rest of the country is going to be like Detroit. Yeah, if Kamala Harris is elected, Donald Trump said standing in front of a podium in Detroit that if the rest if Kamala Harris is elected, the rest of the country is going to be like Detroit. This is this was an insult. You're I'm like you're literally in Detroit insulting Detroit. Oh my goodness, a hot mess. Yeah, that's all. And they up there, and this is why this is why I am convinced we live in the upside down portion of the twilight zone because people in the audience were clapping. Yep. Can I hear it? Oh, I didn't know y'all hadn't heard it. I think I got it. I think I hold on. Let me see. Let me see if I got it. I did. Give me a moment, and let's see if I can get it for you. Give me a moment because it is. Oh, I think the easiest way is actually to bring it up on X. Mm-mm-mm-mm, uh-uh-uh-uh. Hey, hey, goodbye. Yeah, you can't make you can't. I mean, it's like you fixed your mouth and you actually said in Detroit. See, Donald Trump insults Detroit. I didn't plan to play it, but if I was gonna talk about it, I should have. I probably should have had it. All right,
They're 2%. They should be much higher than that on her list. I don't think anything that we're talking about today is high on her list. They're 2%. They should be
just gonna play it. I'm not gonna really open it. So y'all let me know. Can you, dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. All right, let's get it. Can y'all hear?
Talking about today is high on her list. The whole country is going to be like, you want to know the truth? It'll be like Detroit. Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president. You're going to have a mess on your hands. She's talking about today is high on her list. The whole country is going to be like, you want to know the truth? It'll be like Detroit. Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president. You're going to have a mess on your hands. She's talking about today is high on her list. The whole country is going to be like, you want to know the truth? It'll be like
Yeah,
Detroit. Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president. You're going to have
played it 3 times. So that is literally what he said with a big in Detroit. Like I said, he's literally in Detroit, and he says the whole country is going to be like Detroit if Kamala Harris is elected president. And they were sitting there like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, so the whole country is going to be in a state of economic recovery that Detroit is in, with lower crime rates than they had during the pandemic. Okay, and this is the part, like when I was telling you Petra was talking about my frustration. This is the part because I'm beginning to get that same feeling I got in the last 20 days of the 2016 election. I'm starting to get that same feeling. And if you know, then you know. You were there. If you understood that sense that you, everyone was already like picking out what they're wearing to the inauguration and what Clinton presidency was going to look like, and I was like, I was thinking Detroit was doing better, so how is that a dig? Right. It's meant as an insult. Because, it's meant as an insult. But I'm like, did anybody look at the stats going in? Because he doesn't look at stats. But I'm seriously back to that point where I am losing faith in humanity in general, Americans specific. I'm losing faith in the system. What's up, Son Apple? Please don't let him in the White House again. We got a lot of work to do. It's not. Elon just released full line of 100% self-driving cars. Yeah, I guess he'll drop them off in North Carolina and tell people you can ride around in a self-driving car for free as soon as you pay the $5,000 rental fee on it, just like he did to Starlink. Um, yeah, so I'm getting that feeling, and I'm getting that feeling because of that men collectively. No, that's not fair. Not to say collective. Men don't care as much about women's issues as some of them claim to. And I think just like I say, white women can't be trusted in some situations. I don't think men collectively can be trusted in these situations to not vote in and you see if the shoe don't fit, don't put it on and walk around. Yeah, I get tired of people picking up shoes that don't fit their feet and then complaining that they are painful. If you're not one of the category I'm talking, if you're not in that category, don't come up here saying, "But I'm a good man." Shut the fuck up. Sit down. Sit down. Good men don't respond like that. Okay. Good men don't. Speaking of the devil, pirate is here. All right, pirates here. Speaking of losing faith in humanity and automatic machinery. I just finished God Emperor of Doom. You, talk about it later. Good, 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 good. I feel the same way about humanity. Yes, and I do. I'm just getting that feeling. I'm one of those people that I hope I be wrong. Petra will tell you there's situations I will see and I will feel away and I say, I hope I'm wrong. Jazzy, welcome. You're late. Yeah, you're 24 minutes late, Jazzy. You're later. You're later than Pirate. Olivia's not here yet. My chief of security's not here yet. Um, Jay was on time, but he at work. What did President is Robert? What I tell you about that? Oh, what I tell you about rushing my conversation? I was the only mod on time. Yes, Jay, you were. You deserve it. I'm having the same feeling tonight. I am. I'm having it because I see the misogyny that is coming into play. I see the it's the intersectionality of misogyny. Hey, I was 10 minutes late actually. Yeah, 10 minutes to somebody who's perpetually late like me who was on time, that's a lifetime. That's a lifetime. I'm having the same. But you haven't missed the me playing. I was gonna. You're kind of on time as far as I'm gonna before Robert. Before Robert, push me off a cliff. Before I get to President Obama's speech from today, we're going to cover that jazz. We haven't got to it yet because I've been too busy going off. Time isn't linear, so I've been here and will be there. Time is not linear, so I'm perpetually late even when I'm on time. Don't play word games with the blurred himself. Yeah. So you get to this feeling is rooted in how I see the where did all these rocket raccoons start to come from? When I look at the stats that Barack Obama carried over 90% of the black vote and Kamala Harris is struggling to get 80% of it. And I know it's rooted in black men. When I look at the male vote period, that the intellect of Kamala Harris puts off because we still deal with these little boys masquerading as men who are insecure in the presence of any woman, much less a woman who actually has ability. I believe, I believe all these little boys masquerading as men are going to use this as a chance to strike out against every woman in their lives that they have never measured up to, and they're using this as a way to not a surrogate, using Kamala Harris as a surrogate for all their pains at the hands of themselves. I just that's what I feel and see, because when you see them talking about Kamala Harris, it's like they're talking from a point of personal knowing. Oh, she's not this. And I was like, who hurt you? Therapy, therapy. You need therapy because we can't talk about policy. You're not talking about policy. And this old tired addict, I was doing much better when Donald Trump was president. You must have been in the same game I was in the 80s when Donald Trump was president. Then, if you were doing so much better, when the GDP reflects a growth of over 75% time. I remember when I used to watch a video of old white men, of old white fox dancing without wondering if they were maggots. Yeah, I don't remember those days anymore. I just see the fact that we are staring in the face of if this country is going to prove itself to be the misogynistic, racist country that we think it is. And then to watch these same people that are from marginalized groups carrying the torch for white supremacy, when it burns them, I'm not coming to their rescue. Yeah, I'm not coming. So, with that said, let's transition before I say something to get the whole live band, because you know I will. Let's transition to um, President Barack Obama today in Pittsburgh, campaigning for Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, right? So hold tight. Let me Let me clear my throat. Dun, dun, dun. Let me clear my throat. All right, let's get it.
Less you find out as you go. I knew much more then than I do now. Neon hot day glow.
Hello, Pittsburgh! Are you fired up? Are you ready to go? It is good. It is good to be back in Pennsylvania. It is good to be back in Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh. You know, I love the people of Pittsburgh. I love the food in Pittsburgh. I don't usually do this, but this is a little bit of a Yelp rating. Just had some of Pamela's pancakes. I first had those like 10, 15 years ago when I was running. And I was all like, I need some of those pancakes this time out. And even though I'm from Chicago, some of you may know when I was a kid, I was a Steelers fan. So, and watching the Steelers this season, it seems I'm not the only guy from Chicago who likes being in Pittsburgh, because so far Justin Fields is doing pretty good. Now, before we get started, we have a little bit of work to do here. All right, so I want everybody to be, just settle in. We got some work to do. Before we get started, I did want to say that we are, heartbroken about the loss of life in Florida, North Carolina, states across the Southwest. We are thinking about people, families whose lives have been upended by the storms over the last couple of weeks. I could not be more grateful for the first responders and FEMA professionals who have put themselves in harm's way to try and help. It's times like this when you realize having honest, competent leadership in government really matters. It makes a difference. And today I'm asking you to vote for some of those leaders, including some folks we need working with your outstanding governor, who you just heard from, Governor Josh Shapiro. We need them in Harrisburg. So we need you to vote for your next Auditor General, Malcolm Kenyatta. Your next Attorney General, Eugene DePasquale. Your next State Treasurer, Eric McClellan. And my buddy, your outstanding United States Senator, Bob Casey. Now, here in Pennsylvania, there are 3 ways to vote. You can vote early, in person, at the county election office, or at a satellite office. You can also vote by mail. And if you need to figure out how to do that, just go to iwillvote.com, PA, to find a place to vote early or to request a ballot. And of course, you can vote at your polling place on Election Day, November 5th. But if you're at this rally, let's face it, you're probably voting unless you are 12. So you also have to help your friends and family make a plan to vote. And even if you're 12, you can do that. Talk to your mom and dad and aunts and uncles, because together we have a chance to choose a new generation of leadership in this country and start building a better and stronger and fairer and more hopeful America. Now, you've already heard tonight, this election's going to be tight, because there are a lot of Americans who are still struggling out there. They're still striving to make life better for themselves, for their families, and for their kids. And let's face it, as a country, we've been through a lot these last few years. We had a historic pandemic wreaking havoc on communities and businesses. Disruptions from the pandemic then caused prices to spike, and that put a strain on family budgets. And in many ways, it's felt like the aspirations of working people have taken a back seat to the priorities of the rich and the powerful. So I get it, why people are looking to shake things up. I mean, I am the hopey, changey guy. So I understand people feeling frustrated and feeling we can do better. What I cannot understand is why anybody would think that Donald Trump will shake things up in a way that is good for you, Pennsylvania. I don't understand that. Because there is absolutely no evidence that this man thinks about anybody but himself. I've said it before. Donald Trump is a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he rode down his golden escalator 9 years ago. You've got the tweets in all caps, the ranting and the raving about crazy conspiracy theories. You got the 2-hour speeches, word salad, just, you know, it's like Fidel Castro, just on and on. Constant attempts to sell you stuff. Who does that? Selling you gold sneakers and a $100,000 watch and most recently a Trump Bible. You know, he wants you to buy the Word of God, Donald Trump edition. Got his name right there next to Matthew and Luke. I mean, you could not make this stuff up. If you saw it on Saturday Night Live, you'd say, well, no, that's going too far. No, he's doing that. It's crazy. And the reason he does it is because all he cares about is his ego and his money and his status. He's not thinking about you. Donald Trump sees power as nothing more than a means to an end. He wants the middle class to pay the price for another huge tax cut that would mostly help him and his country club buddies. Doesn't care if he costs more women their reproductive freedoms because it won't make a difference in his life. Do not boo. Vote. They can't hear your boos, but they can hear your votes. Most of all, Donald Trump wants us to think that this country is hopelessly divided between us and them, between the quote-unquote real Americans who support him and the outsiders who don't. Because having people divided and angry, he figures boosts his chances of being elected. And he doesn't care who gets hurt. I mean, think about it. Just the other day, we learned that on January 6th, a couple years ago, Donald Trump was told that Mike Pence was in the Capitol about 40 feet from an angry mob chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." And his response was, quote, "So what? Don't boo." If Donald Trump does not care that a mob might attack his own vice president, do you think he cares about you? Pennsylvania, we do not need 4 more years of that. We don't need 4 more years of arrogance and bumbling and bluster and division. America's ready to turn the page. We are ready for a better story, one that helps us work together instead of turning against each other. Pennsylvania, we're ready for a President Kamala Harris. And the good news is Kamala Harris is ready to do the job. This is a leader who has spent her life fighting on behalf of people who need a voice and a champion. Somebody who was raised in the middle class, who worked a summer job at McDonald's while she earned a degree, who believes in the values that built this country. Somebody who has served with distinction in every office that she has ever held. I think we probably had a fainting spell back there. So let's make space for the emergency folks. This happens sometimes. Everybody bend their knees a little bit. You've been standing for a while. You can dance if you want. I just suggested bend your knees. But she'll be okay. Kamala is as prepared for the job as any nominee for president has ever been. That's who Kamala is. And in the White House, she will have an outstanding partner in Governor Tim Walz. Tim is a veteran. He is a teacher. He's a coach. He's a hunter. He's been a great governor working with Democrats and Republicans to get stuff done. He can also take a vintage truck apart and put it back together again. You think Donald Trump can do that? For that matter, do you think Donald Trump has ever changed a tire in his life? No. I'm just trying to picture it. No. The point is, if you elect Kamala and Tim, they won't be focused on their problems, they'll be focused on yours. They understand that too many folks here in Pennsylvania and across the country are struggling to pay the bills. Even though wages are steadily growing and inflation is finally slowing, the price of everything from health care to housing to groceries, it's still too high. And that takes a real bite out of paychecks. It hurts. So the question is, who's really going to do something about it? That's what you should be asking yourself. Now, Donald Trump's plan is to do what he did last time, which was give another massive tax cut to billionaires and big corporations. And then, don't boo, I'm going to break you of this habit. And the reason some people think, well, I don't know, I remember that economy when he first came in being pretty good, Yeah, it was pretty good because it was my economy. We had 75 straight months of job growth that I handed over to him. It wasn't something he did. I had spent 8 years cleaning up the mess that the Republicans had left me the last time. So just in case everybody has a hazy memory, he didn't do nothing except those big tax cuts. His other big economic plan now is to slap tariffs on everything, from food to TVs. Now, understand what tariffs are. Anything that's coming from that's made elsewhere and comes here, you slap extra money on top of it. And if other countries are cheating, in some cases, it makes sense because you want to have a fair playing field. But what he's proposing is basically a Trump sales tax that could cost the average family almost $4,000 a year. So if you're concerned about higher prices, that is not the way to get lower prices. That's going to come out of your pockets. You think prices are high now? Donald Trump's message basically is, you ain't seen nothing yet. All right, so that's, as far as you can tell, that's his plan, right? Because it's not written down anywhere. When it comes to health care, you heard it in the debate. Donald Trump's got one answer: ending the Affordable Care Act that 45 million people rely on. The other day, his running mate, J.D. Vance, you got to vote. The other day, his running mate had the nerve to say, Donald Trump salvaged the Affordable Care Act. I mean, Donald Trump spent his entire presidency trying to tear it down. And by the way, he couldn't even do that right. And now, 8 years after he was elected, when he was asked about what he was going to do, he says he's got concepts of a plan for how he'd replace it. Now, I want you all to think about this for a second. Let's say your boss gives you an assignment, a project. He says, I need this on Friday. And Friday comes around and he says, so, did you finish that project I asked for? And you say, well, I actually haven't started, but I have a concept of a plan. Or you could try it at home. Honey, did you do the dishes? I have a concept of a plan to do the dishes. How's that going to go over? If it wouldn't work for you, why in the heck should it work for the President of the United States? But the good news is, Kamala Harris, she doesn't have concepts for a plan. She has an actual plan to make your life better. To bring down the cost of things like groceries. She'll go after corporations that are jacking up prices. Just like she went after big banks and for-profit colleges when she was an attorney general in California. And believe me, when she does, nobody's going to want to stand in her way. I remember after the home mortgage crisis, Kamala pushed me and my administration harder than any other attorney general in the country to make sure homeowners got a fair settlement. It did not matter that she was pushing a Democratic administration. She was not going to let anybody stop her from winning as much relief as possible for the families who deserved it. And because of the work she did, those families got billions more than they would have otherwise got. That's the kind of president Kamala Harris will be. To lower housing costs, Kamala will cut red tape and work with governors like Josh Shapiro, as well as the private sector, to build 3 million new homes. And she'll give first-time home buyers up to $25,000 to help with the down payment. Plans, concrete plans. And for a lot of folks, that could be the difference between watching their dreams pass them by or finally owning a place of their own. To lower health care costs, Kamala already worked with Joe Biden to take on the drug companies and bring down the cost of insulin and hearing aids and more than 50 prescription drugs. And as president, she will never stop working to limit out-of-pocket costs and protect your care. That's who Kamala is. She's got a track record of doing it. And here's a big one. Instead of giving more tax breaks to billionaires and raising prices on working families, Kamala will give a tax cut to 100 million middle class and working people here in America. So, if you're a new parent, you could qualify for a $6,000 tax credit during the first year of your child's life. Because I don't have to tell a lot of you, raising kids is hard. And she wants to make it easier to afford stuff like a crib or a car seat or diapers. I remember buying diapers. I remember the first time I went in the store right after Malia was born. I was like, what? That's how much diapers cost? I remember changing diapers. You think Donald Trump ever changed the diaper? Yeah. I almost said that, but I decided I shouldn't say it. If you're starting a small business, Kamala Harris will give you a $50,000 tax credit to help you get it off the ground. That's who Kamala Harris is. That's what she stands for. So with Kamala, you've got actual plans. Trump, concepts of a plan. Now, if you challenge Trump to elaborate and enumerate his concepts, he will fall back on one answer. J.D. Vance does the same thing. Doesn't matter what the issue is, housing, health care, education, paying the bills. Their only answer is to blame immigrants. They want you to believe that if you let Donald Trump round up whoever he wants, by the way, and ship them out, all your problems will be solved. Now, we've got real issues at the border. We are a nation of laws and a nation of immigrants. We have to make sure it's fair. There are communities at the border that can be overrun. We've got to actually solve a problem. But when I hear Donald Trump talking, I've got one question. As I recall, Donald Trump was president for 4 years. And if rounding up and deporting millions of desperate people and building the beautiful wall, and didn't matter whether some of those folks you rounded up were women and children, if that's the answer to everything, well, why didn't you solve the problem? Why were the number of immigrants basically the same when you left office as when you took office? I'll tell you why. Because he didn't have a real plan. He had talking points. He had concepts of a plan. And the plan was mean and ugly. And it was designed to enhance his politics and make people angry, not to solve the problem. You know what would actually help bring order to the border and fix our immigration system? The bipartisan deal that Kamala Harris supported, even though it's written by one of the most conservative Republicans in Congress, the same bill that Donald Trump tanked on purpose because he thinks fear-mongering is how he's going to win this election. He told Republicans, even the ones who had originally supported, don't vote for it, because he doesn't want the problem solved. We don't need a president who will make problems worse just to make his own political circumstances better. We need a president who actually cares about solving problems and making your life better, and that's what Kamala Harris will do. And to help her do it, she will need a Senate full of serious public servants like Bob Casey. I'm going to talk about this man just for a second. I've known Bob for almost 20 years. I've watched his daughters grow up. I know his brothers and cousins, and let me tell you, there are a lot of brothers and cousins. And I can tell you that no one is more humble and more honest and more rooted in his community and has more integrity than Bob Casey. You know, in Washington, folks make a distinction between work horses and show horses. And Bob Casey, he's not a show pony. All the guy cares about is doing the job and looking after you, the people he was elected to serve. That's the kind of person we need to send back to Washington. That's the kind of person who's going to help Kamala get stuff done. Folks who share our values and will do what they can to move this country forward rather than backward. That's who Bob Casey is. Now, one of those values is freedom. And during election time, there are a lot of flags and there's a lot of talk about freedom. So let me talk about that just for a second. Because I don't think we've ever had an election with candidates who understand freedom more differently. For Donald Trump and his cronies, freedom means that the powerful can do whatever they please. Fire workers for trying to organize a union. Dodge paying their fair share of taxes. Try to throw out your votes when they lose an election. Control what women can and can't do with their bodies. In other words, for Trump, freedom is getting away with stuff. It's like he said in the middle of the pandemic. I don't take any responsibility at all. People were dying. I don't take any responsibility at all. Not sure any other president has ever uttered that statement. We have a broader idea of freedom. We believe in the freedom to provide for our families if we're willing to work. the freedom to breathe clean air and drink clean water and send our kids to school without worrying if they come home. We believe that true freedom gives each of us the right to make decisions about our own life, how we worship, who we marry, what our family looks like. And real freedom also means that we're going to disagree on how each of us should live our lives. And we have to respect other people's views on these issues. You know, I've always said there are good people of conscience on both sides of the abortion divide. I respect anyone whose faith tells them that it isn't something they support. But if we believe in freedom, then we should at least agree that such a deeply personal decision should be made by the woman whose body is involved and not by politicians. And it has been fascinating to watch Donald Trump just tie himself into a pretzel on this issue. I mean, when he ran for president the first time, he said he would support punishing women who got an abortion. That's what he said. Thank you. Now, well, a couple weeks ago, what did he say? He said, "Don't worry, women, I'll be your protector. I'll tell you how he protected you." He handpicked 3 of the Supreme Court justices who overturned Roe versus Wade, went out there and bragged about it. And now there are Trump abortion bans in 20 states, many of them with no exception for rape or incest. And when he's asked about it, he says, well, everybody wanted it this way. Really? He thinks women want to have to drive hundreds of miles to find a doctor who can help them? Does he think doctors want to choose between letting a woman die or going to jail for giving her the life-saving care that she needs? That is not something people chose. Now, Donald Trump may be confused about that issue, but let's not be confused. Let's be clear about what's at stake here. If you send Bob Casey back to the Senate, he'll vote to restore reproductive freedom that women had for nearly 50 years. And if Congress passes that bill, Kamala Harris will sign it into law. Because they understand that freedom is about being able to make the right choice for ourselves and our families. It's about recognizing that other people have the freedom to make their own choices, even if they're different from ours. And it's an example of how at the end of the day, this election isn't just about policies. It's about values. It's about who we are and how we treat each other. And the example we want to set for our children and for their children. And it's about character. You know, some of you know that when I was growing up, I didn't have a father in the house. But I did have plenty of people around me. Stepfather, grandparents, teachers, coaches, and most of all my mom, who taught me the difference between right and wrong, who showed me what it meant to have integrity and to be honest and to be responsible and to work hard and to treat other people like we wanted them to treat us. And I had a bunch of role models out there who helped raise me to become a man, and I made mistakes, and sometimes I didn't live up to those values that had been taught the way I should have, and I was checked and I was corrected, and I internalized those values, and I tried to live up to them. And I suspect most of you grew up the same way. And you know, that process of trying to live out your best self, trying to live out your values, that doesn't stop after the age of 20 or 21. It keeps going. And as I got older, I continued to benefit from friends like Bob Casey and Josh Shapiro and others who would reinforce those values and who I didn't want to disappoint. And obviously my wife and my daughters, you know, who I want to make sure, you know, Malia and Sasha are watching. I want to make sure that I don't disappoint them, and that I'm passing on these values to them. You know, and here in Pittsburgh, I'm thinking about another example. Somebody who was a dear friend of mine who's passed away now, Dan Rooney, who, you know, here was a guy who won 6 Super Bowls, 8 AFC championships, had enormous wealth and power. But I remember walking around, I guess it was Heinz Field by that time. I'm old enough to remember Three Rivers Stadium. Now I know it's something else. But Dan knew the name of every single person in the Steelers organization. You know, we'd pass by a custodian and he'd say, "Hey, Jimmy, how you doing? How's the family?" All the front office staff, he cared about them. He used his influence to get more black and brown head coaches hired in the NFL. He gave back to his community. He was known for his integrity. He helped support the peace process in Northern Ireland, became my ambassador to Ireland, and continued to help encourage people who were so far apart to come together. He had character. That's what I think about so much these days, because it's so different from what we see out of the Republican nominee. And it's been one of the most disturbing aspects of this election season about Trump's rise in politics, is how we seem to have set aside the values that people like Dan stood for and Bob stood for and that I was taught, and those didn't used to be Republican Democratic values. I mean, it used to be we'd have arguments about tax policy or foreign policy, but we didn't have arguments about whether you should tell the truth or not. We didn't make excuses for people who just violated basic norms of treating people fairly and with respect. I mean, just last week, I talked about this. We had one of the deadliest hurricanes in American history. The beautiful town of Asheville, North Carolina, one of my favorite places in the country. Spent time there, amazing people. Devastated. Hundreds of people killed. And President Biden and Vice President Harris were down there meeting with local officials and comforting families, asking how they could help. And Donald Trump at a rally just started making up stories about the Biden administration withholding aid from Republican areas and siphoning off aid to give to undocumented immigrants just made the stuff up. Everybody knew it wasn't true. Even local Republicans said it was not true. And now the people of Florida are dealing with another devastating storm. And I want you to watch what happens over the next few days, just like the last time. You're going to have leaders who try to help, and then you have a guy who will just lie about it to score political points, and this has consequences. Because people are afraid, and they've lost everything, and now they're trying to figure out, how do I apply for help? And some of them may be discouraged from getting the help they need. The idea of intentionally trying to deceive people in their most desperate and vulnerable moments. And my question is, when did that become okay? I'm not looking for applause right now. I want to ask Republicans out there, you know, people who are conservative, who didn't vote for me, who didn't agree with me. I had friends who disagreed with me on every issue. When did that become okay? Why would we go along with that? I mean, if your coworkers acted like that, they wouldn't be your coworkers very long. If you're in business and somebody you're doing business with just outright lies and manipulates, you stop doing business with them. Even if you had a family member who acted like that, you might still love them, but you tell them you got a problem. And you wouldn't put them in charge of anything. And yet, when Donald Trump lies or cheats or shows utter disregard for our Constitution, when he calls POWs losers or fellow citizens vermin, people make excuses for it. They think it's okay. They think, well, at least he's owning the libs. He's really sticking it to them. It's okay as long as our side wins. And by the way, I'm sorry, gentlemen, I've noticed this especially with some men who seem to think Trump's behavior, the bullying and the putting people down, is a sign of strength. And I am here to tell you that is not what real strength is. It never has been. Real strength is about working hard and carrying a heavy load without complaining. Real strength is about taking responsibility for your actions and telling the truth even when it's inconvenient. Real strength is about helping people who need it and standing up for those who can't always stand up for themselves. That is what we should want for our daughters and for our sons, and that is what I want to see in a president of the United States of America. And the good news is that you have candidates to vote for in this election that demonstrate that kind of character, who know what real strength looks like, who will set a good example and do the right thing and leave this country better than they found it. So, Pennsylvania, that is the choice in this election. It's not just about policies that are on the ballot. It is about values, and it is about character. So whether this election is making you feel excited or scared or hopeful or frustrated or anything in between, do not just sit back and hope for the best. Get off your couch and vote. Put down your phone and vote. Grab your friends and family and vote. Vote for Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States. Vote for Tim Walz as the next vice president of the United States. Vote for Bob Casey and this whole incredible Pennsylvania Democratic ticket. Help your friends and family members and neighbors and coworkers do the same. Because if enough of us make our voices heard, we will leave no doubt about the election outcome. We'll leave no doubt about who we are and what America stands for.
All right, GCPR. Thank you for staying late. Glad. Hope you heard everything you need to hear. I'm about to get some content violations from the FCC for cussing. So I'm going to sign out on GCPR right now. I'll see you all tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, 11 o'clock Eastern. Peace. All right. Now, so obviously you all wasn't listening to President Obama. You all wanted to have, but I want to respect it for the people who were listening to it. But I see somebody wanted some attention. So, what the fuck? Let's get it. Who called? Who asked me what I was doing in my own goddamn life? I do anything I fucking want to in my life. And Trent, you're not a person of color. Yeah, Trent, you're not a person of color. You can barely string person of color words together to make coherent person of color sentence. Yeah, I don't give a fuck who's a cop. I used to beat you all up. I have Leo charges to prove it, right? So yeah, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. I don't care. And anytime I'm gonna have anything to say in any conversation, nobody asked me how I got here. This is my goddamn page, and that's for anybody. Don't ask me questions like that. I don't care who you are on my page. You can go find you some on Rocket Raccoon's page to go on and ask them that. But this is not. I don't know what I think some of y'all fell and bumped your head today, or something, right? I am not the one. Yeah. So Trent, run along, play with somebody else, Trent, because I don't even know how you stayed along that long. I don't know how you stayed around that long. Anyway, run along, play with somebody else. This is not your daddy's Oldsmobile. Now, so back to the topic of hand. What did you all think? What did you all think about President Obama's delivery? I'm finally he. One thing about having him on the campaign trail. Um, One thing about having him on the campaign trail. Yes, Trent. Donald Trump, 20 to 20, or life. 20, 24, life. They're all fine. But one thing about having him on the campaign trail is that he gets to state on the record his record about how he is responsible for the economy that Donald Trump ran into the ground. How Donald Trump was never able to dismantle the Affordable Health Care Act. But the thing that also is it's not a surprise. At this point, there is no moving the needle substantially anyway. If you are a Donald Trump supporter, especially as a man, Donald Trump is a weak ass man's idea of a strong man. I would hit Donald Trump one time and he would cough up Mario corn. Um, he doesn't even have a passing acquaintance with the truth. And the people who support him are just like that. They do not care about the truth. They only care about the valid dictation of either they are white supremacists or racists, or they are on their knees on the glizzy of white supremacists and racists. And that's where they are. And they're happy. And then we add on top of that misogyny because they are misogynists also. Um, because a truly strong man never, I have never feared a woman, never in my life. I've never feared a man either, but I've never feared a woman because of her strength, her intelligence, her her persistence, her ability to lead. We have a society where Angela Merkel and Margaret Thatcher were praised. Mexico has a female president. Did y'all know that? The first female president. So and strong men are never intimidated by that. I don't go online talking about, oh, I know how to spell policy, and I know the three branches of the government of the United States. Just got home from work. Good, Jay. So that's what, and I want to, when you want me to say I miss O- President Obama, um, he's not gone anywhere. Yeah, he's not dead. He's not dead. But you all failed President Obama and yourself also by not electing people to help him implement policies and plans. So I do find that interesting. We always are relishing the past when we should understand we build on the past for the future. We should have learned from the mistakes that people didn't learn from when they elected President Obama. And it's like I talk about black revolutionaries all the time. Everybody missed them when they're dead. People talk more about Fred Hampton and El Haj Malik Shabazz now than they did when they were alive. More people are talking about the things they stood for in death than they did when they're alive. You all always miss good leaders when they're gone. Um, yeah, and that comes from somebody who did have political differences with President Obama, but understood that um, perfect is the enemy of progress at times. Um, I admired him as a man, family man that could have 8 years in the public eye on that level and nary a scandal except a gray suit. His his he was a father, a husband, and a world leader all at the same time and then forsake either one of those offices. He was spectacular. And um, Kamala Harris's vice president is spectacular for the same reason. But see, we have to realize that when people show us who they are and they stand in direct opposition of where we're going, they are called the enemy. And I'm not. Maybe some of you all are enamored with playing with your enemies, right? But I'm not. And no radical militant that I take my cues from ever indulged in that activity. I never saw. I never picked up a book and read about Shay playing with his enemies. I've never seen Marcus Garvey play with his enemies. I have never seen um, Fred Hampton play with his enemies. I never seen Shaka Zulu play. These are the men and the legends I admire and learn from. I never read anything in the Art of War that said we should play with our enemies to prove that we have the pseudo intellectual high ground. Some of you all, I guess, when you're actually fighting instead of talking about fighting, it's not the same. Yes, this is why I don't have a million followers because I piss at least 2,000 of my followers off a day by pointing out the fallacies of their thinking pattern and why we are having such a hard time at eliminating our enemy. Alas, and I'm talking to you, Jay, in a sense. I'm talking to you. I get so disgusted sometimes when I see these lives where you all think you all have to platform or argue with bigots and racists, and then wonder how did they get a platform? How did they teleport onto my live? How do they get to spew their toxin onto our black women? And you all continue to do this goddamn shit regardless of how many times I say it is counterproductive because at the end of the day, you just pay lip service to respecting me. You're just you all do it in they're the same people that let Malcolm die because instead of listening to what he was actually saying, you were formulating in your brain this idea that historically has never goddamn worked a day in our existence to actually prove something because you must prove you're smarter than our enemies in a manner that never does it. I want to break something to you all. You all have never impressed me with your ability to put our enemies in their place because you give them air. And never at any time does a true revolutionary go and get their enemies to say, I want to give you some air to spew your toxins. We control the environment that they are allowed to die in, not speak in. And that's how and it's not even how I feel. It's coming from somebody who categorically can sit here and say that they have read everybody from Shay to Malcolm to Fred to Marcus to John to Boehner, Mao Zedong even. And then I'll throw in Toni Morrison and um, Baldwin for good measure. Yeah. Missed the point. I'm not talking about your live today. I don't know what your live today was about. I was actually feeding those who happen to be homeless. I don't know what your live today, but I know you. I'm sure you had the same background that I've told you about once before. I'm positive that background passed through your life. I'm sure because you all need it. You all relish in the idea of checking bigots and racists in virtual time instead of punching them in the face at rallies. We have 26 days, people. What I would ask my community to do is to check on the elderly in your community and make sure if they do not haven't done early voting that you make sure they get to the polls if they need rides. You make sure that if they need a curbside voting, make sure they get the process ready. You do everything you can to help our community help itself. Can you all just do that for me for at least November the 5th? Center our community and not the words of white supremacists and racists and what we need to do. Can we do that? If it's not too much to ask, can you help? Can you help that the next time we're out here fighting for our rights, that at least we are not fighting a forefront battle. We're fighting the same three fronts. We at least know how to dodge without adding a fourth one to it. When they're throwing tear gas on us, can you help to make sure that we can escape? That's all I ask. I realize everything else I ask is too much. It is too much. So can we just center our community for one day? Because centering it for more than one day doesn't seem to be possible. And I don't mean with the pseudo intellectual arguments that you all want to get into, that sometimes you all have the nerve to lose. I watched I watched the live, and I was like, how do you lose an argument to Joel Patrick, the creator of the white privilege card? And I watched somebody who swear they were intelligent lose a point to a Rocket Raccoon, Joel Patrick. On the social media. They lost a point to somebody I would take and hang upside down one leg and drop them into a caldera. And they lost a point to them because they didn't have the information readily at hand to counter the stupidity that they were spewing. And I was like, this is why. This is why. Check with local organizations to see where they need volunteers. Yes, Rain. And if you live in our community, you shouldn't have to check with those local organizations. You should already know. I wish people would put as much energy into our community of physicality as we do into arguing with people who won't even turn their cameras on in a live. My goodness. Petra, is this Petra? Are you still in here? So, those are the things we need to do. Would you check and see Supreme Court? What did they make a ruling today, or since I've been live? Um, they just heard the argument on Gosling, right? They haven't made a ruling since I've been live, or since we talked last. Um, Gosling is the man that the Supreme Court is hearing his death row case when they denied hearing Marcus Marcellus Williams' case, but they did manage to hear his, and the circumstances are so similar, but they allow Williams to explain. And I must be, if I'm going to be in all honesty, the three women um, Supreme Court justices ruled to stay the execution, while um, the six, while three liberal justices ruled to three liberal justices, apologize, ruled to stay the execution, but the six conservative justices overrode it. You understand how rare it is in this case for them to hear this case out of Ohio, Oklahoma, because it is. Is it just me that is having trouble hearing? Is this better? Testing one, two, three. Testing one, two, three. Okay. Testing, testing, testing. Sound check, sound check, sound check, sound check, sound check. Good, we good. No problem. And you have to also, when I get truly upset, my voice drops. And it drops into a range that you can hear fine if you're in my presence. But for some reason, when I'm on mic, it becomes this demonic growling. Yes, the sound is better now. I didn't want to interrupt. No, that's fine. Um, sometimes it's just an indication of how close to the edge I'm about to step. So sometimes I need the distraction, the Dora Milaje. Um, I do need that distraction because everybody, everybody can't hear you, but you sound so low. My volume is all the way up. I could also modulate my voice back up, but usually I tell people the calmer I get, the deadlier or the more eviscerating I am on the verge of becoming. I was never that person to scream and holler when they're upset or when they're about to do something. I'm not that person. Uh, the calmer I get, the worse you know the storm is going to be. So I will modulate that because it's not my intent. But yes, There are some things that I just don't understand, and in order to not hurt people's feelings, sometimes I just ignore and take the brunt of myself. Yeah, I do that because I have to. There's one way I would approach fighting bigots, racists, and rocket raccoons, and I can't bring that same type of energy to my community when we do things that are disproportionately not getting us to the level we need to get, because I do care. And since I can fight my enemies with reckless abandon, I could fight my I have no I do not hold back in the battle against my enemy. Most of the time you'll catch me holding back because I don't want the same fire that I use to destroy enemies to scorch people that I truly care about what we're doing. But then again, I can't. It's hard to navigate. How do I not do that? But get them. Sometimes you have to burn them to show them that what they're doing is detrimental to the movement and makes it just harder for us to. We talk about, and you remember the other night I talked about how people will use the phrase "we're not a monolith" whenever they want to assuage how we need to move as a monolith collectively to end oppression, but they're always talking, and or they'll say something like, "We don't need leadership in the black community. We know what we need to do." Shut the fuck up. I just be want to tell both those sets of people to shut the fuck up because that's crazy. That's crazy. When did we start adopting that? We started adopting that when the Western civilization patriarchy of oppression taught us that. We literally come from great rulers and leaders of our people. Shaka single-handedly led his people to victories against the British that other African nations with more people could not get, because they didn't have the unity that Shaka instilled. And it's so frustrating to read about these people and to try to embody the principles, the best of those leaders. And you start to understand that it doesn't matter sometimes how good the leadership is if you don't have the supporters that are willing to uninhibitedly implement plan, because somebody always wants to be more than the creator in the universe has created them to be in accordance with the plan. Because once you allow Western civilization, I tell people who realize, when you get to realize that my ego does not enter into things when it comes to the liberation of my people. Ego is not even something that I have ever really. I know we have, and I'm not talking about the third verses, the ego and the ego, the id, and the super ego, the self-centering of being. I wish that I didn't have to exist for that purpose. I wish that we didn't have to fight. I wish that we lived in a world that was already equitable for everybody, but we don't. And I know that some people have to do things that actually will mean they have to be put on an island with their dog by themselves after the revolution, because they're not going to be able to make peace with our former enemies. And I know somebody's going to have to do that unless I'm willing to wipe out three-fourths of the world's population. But since no one's going to let me do that, I'm going to the island after we sue for liberation. But to realize that some of the people standing in our own way, our own people are standing in our way of liberation, is frustrating. That's what you see today, Petra, when you were talking about my frustration. My frustration was based upon not Rocket Raccoon, but that. I can barely hear you, and my volume is all the way up. Does it fluctuate because of my voice? All right. Let's see. What Petra sent me? The future will be streamed live. Is that the um? So Elon Musk has released 100 self-driving cars. Petra, it's always up to the people that want to live the peaceful life, but now what they're needed for. Oh, he released 50. So Elon Musk has released 50 self-driving cars. Convenient, isn't it? Yeah, convenient. Why now? Right this moment. Yeah, right this moment. Yeah, we know why. SCOTUS up. You sent the SCOTUS update. I haven't got it yet, Petra. What phone did you send it to the our group or did you send it individually? Last thing I got from you was at 9:48. I haven't gotten anything since then. Doom, I'm connected. Hold on. Lily, test. Yep. I just sent you a test. Did you get it? Time is up. All right. I've been told time is up. It- I've been told time is up. Jazzy, as always, it's nice having you over on YouTube. Um, sorry that was not meant for you. Yeah, but thank you all for joining me. It is 11:02 p.m. Central Standard Time. Tomorrow is movie night. Yes, tomorrow is movie night, and we'll be continuing in our Halloween. Um, SCOTUS is going to kick it down. So they're kicking it back to the lower court, but kicking it down means he gets a stay. That means he gets a stay. They're kicking it back down, telling them to look at it. Yeah. Why am I not surprised? Yeah. This is my 12th wedding anniversary. Congratulations. Congratulations. How long you all been together, Ray? I'm going to miss movie night. We're going back to North Carolina early Sunday morning. Okay. Yeah, Jazzy, you have a good night. You all have a good night. Tomorrow, we will probably, like I say, Halloween, we'll probably talk for 30 minutes and then open up 13 years, married 12. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Congratulations. We'll probably, unless something comes up on Friday, we'll probably do the show for 30 minutes and then we'll open up bootleg movie theater at 10:30 and hopefully if we don't have hold on you want me to hang on you say hang on Petra wants me to hang on she wants to see something I got this hang on all right I'm hanging on Petra wants to see so Petra is sending me that tomorrow night we're going to um, horror movies of course all month of October horror movies. Well, hopefully, we'll get two in now that we don't have to watch a 2 hour and some odd minutes of Joker. Ah, anybody still mad about Joker? I'm still mad, still disappointed. But I'm gonna tell you what's good. If you haven't had the chance, I just watched this week's episode of Agatha All Along. Oh, it was good. And y'all better stop me from talking if you're watching it and haven't seen it because I do give spoilers and no spoiler alerts. Yeah, speaking of, I need a bootleg site for audiobooks. Do you have? Nope, I do too. I do too. But even audiobooks, I still would need, if it's that good, I still need the physical book. That's what, y'all don't forget, my birthday is October 29th. My book list, you want to send me a gift, either donate to charity or go to my wish list and send me, I have books and hoodies on that. That's all I have. U.S. Supreme Court signals concern over gossip death penalty dissension. All right, hold on, you all. Um, Justices raised concerns on Wednesday about a judicial decision that would let Richard Gosling execution move forward as they wrestle with the Oklahoma death ruling. The justices, during arguments in the case, probed whether an Oklahoma court properly weighed new. They're going to. They sent it back down. I don't have to read anymore. They didn't even give. They did not even give Marcellus Williams this courtesy to at least send it back and give him a stay while they. Yeah. So I have a lot of time to listen at work. I can't find Heretics of Doom on YouTube. Yeah, I believe. But yeah, they are ordering it back to the lower court. So I will make a video up on that later. Erase the Joker movie from my mind. Really, really, Jazz. Let's do that. They pull the double standard as always because, and I say and I stand by this. M- Marcellus Williams was black, and I stand on that. Stand, he was black. So I'm going to sign off now because I'm sure that if I don't, I will probably hurt some feelings if I go back to where I was earlier. So I'm going to go process this and see, I'll do what I always do and let it out in videos. And I will catch you all tomorrow.